Oloram, Baldajate Vaktur Nadvode. Welcome to our podcast. We've got Kansas Mando, Bob Odu, and Darasum Treshia with us today. Topic will be what firearms to get familiar with, what ammo to get familiar with, effective range of said firearms. So let's get into it. Kansas, let's go ahead and start over. Seeing as my volume was not picking up, it is picking up now. I am so sorry about that. This shit happens sometimes.
So, let's see here. Trying to grab my papers real quick. I actually spent the whole week writing this stuff out and printing it out while I was at work.
Yeah, might help if I turn my volume down too. I'm sorry about the background feedback there.
I couldn't even hear it on your end.
Oh, good.
So the guns that I believe everyone should learn how to use. Like I had said the first time was there's a gentleman by the name of Clint Smith. He owns and operates Thunder Ranch. I think it used to be in Texas, but hang on with it.
While we're waiting on him, I think I'm going to be starting my 5-gallon mead soon.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. You were saying something about 5-gallon mead?
Yeah, just while we were waiting for you to get back, I was saying I might be starting my mix soon.
I kind of know like 5 people that brew their own alcoholic beverages.
You were saying something about a guy who owns Thunder Ranch.
Oh, yes. Guy's name is Clint Smith. He owns and operates a firearms training center. I think he used to be based out of Texas, but he moved to Oregon, which to me seems like kind of an interesting business move, but it worked for him. And from what I can understand, he's retired law enforcement. He's ex-Vietnam soldier. He began to teach civilian classes back when Jeff Cooper started that whole thing. Like he personally knew Jeff Cooper, so the guy knows what he's talking about. And this is why I kind of got the idea of the firearms that everyone should at least know how to use or be familiar with, which is pretty much, unload, load, and then hit a paper plate at like 50 yards. And then it's the AK platform. It's the second most prolific firearm in the world. Some would say it's more prolific than the other one, but that's kind of a personal argument. But the AK, you have a high chance of stepping off of a plane in Cairo, Egypt, finding a long ground to do in Cairo, Illinois. The other prolific rifle that you should not use is the AR-15. Super popular here in the States and pretty well copied over there in other hemispheres. But the reason for those is also the controls for those are in some way or another lead over to pretty much every other modern firearm regarding rifles. And then for handguns, it's the 1911 and the Glock. You get used to the manual safety, no manual safety. Some are hammer-fired, some are not. Gives you a good all-around pass rates on handguns. And then for revolvers, it's the Western pattern, the Colt pattern, and the Ruger pattern, because Smiths are the push cylinder release, Colts are the full cylinder release, and the Rugers have a button cylinder release, and pretty much just like every other, or like the AR and the AK, every revolver you'll find out there has at least one of those style cylinder releases on the same time. It's style Western guns. But yeah, that's pretty much much the 7 firearms that everyone should be familiar with, just because you will have the ability to use the other firearms that you may come across for whatever scenario or situation might happen.
Alright, so let's go into a little bit more detail on each of those weapons now. So the AR-15 or AR-10, if you're going high caliber, you always want to know what rounds your barrel is chambered for. So for example, if you want to be a dual or more, you also need to know what your lower receiver is capable of chambering as well. It's not just the barrel, but the barrel will be the most complicated part to get when chambering. So let's say you just want to keep it a dual purpose chamber, 5.56 or 2.23. I'm sorry. Do a 5.56 chamber if you want to do that, or a 2.23. If you want to do long range or higher power, chamber it in a 308 and you'll be able to do the 7.62 NATO round. Or if you want to do something like varmint shooting, do it in a 22 Win Mag and you'll be able to fire a 22 long out of it. Just make sure you've got the ammo to be able to do that, for one. Back up, out of the trash. And you also just want to make sure you know what you're doing when you're doing that, because you don't want to chamber in a 2.23 and try to fire a 5.56 out of it. Not any good results will come out of this, people. We don't want to be doing this. Same with the 7.62 NATO. You don't want to fire it. You don't want to fire a 308 out of that, and you don't want to try to firing a 22 Win out of a 22 long. What's that, Bob? I heard you talking, but I didn't catch what you said.
I said you don't want to fire a 9mm Makarov out of a 9mm Luger.
Yeah. Be careful what you're trying to fire. Some of these weapons will not take multiple rounds, or they'll take the wrong rounds, and you will get bad results out of it.
Yeah. One of the big ones on that is you got a 300 blackout rifle or a 223 5.56 rifle, mostly in ARs. You shove the other respective rounds in that rifle, it's never a good thing. It's kind of a running joke with AR-15s to shove a 300 blackout in your buddy's 5.56 mag, just walk away, just being a jerk or whatever. It's like, that got way more consequences to it.
Oh, yeah. That's got some charges going to it.
Oh, yeah.
If they find out you did that intentionally.
Yeah.
Even accidentally, you could get in some serious trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Because that person's going to be missing a limb or two and spending some time in the hospital.
Yeah. And I firsthand had a gun explode on me. It was because it was the wrong caliber in the gun. Me and my dad had just gotten an ammo load. We had one that we didn't check very well. It was like 3 times over cars, and the round was probably resized. Because when you shoot around, it strains the chamber. We have to swage it back down so that it fits in the chamber correctly again. That didn't happen. I've got 3 pieces of brass in my trigger finger because
Ew.
of that.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah. Messing around with firearms is very dangerous. It's extremely fun, but it can become very dangerous because you basically have a controlled explosion right next to your face.
Yeah. So on the topic of hand reloading, I just want to put in that I am trying to get a press kit started up, both for shotgun. I've actually got almost everything except for the powder for shotguns. I can start doing that. but I'm looking to get a pistol rifle caliber press set up. So if anybody in the group would like to help out, anybody in the Discord would like to help out, I don't have anything set up yet, but please send me a direct message and we can try to work something out, because I would like to set this up as a reload press for the faith. Not just going to be for myself. I want to do this for everybody.
Well, one thing about reloading is just like if you're getting archery, it's very expensive to get into it, but once you get into it, it really does actually save a substantial amount of money.
Yeah, the press itself is going to be anywhere from $200 to $300. The brass cleaner, I think, was anywhere from $150 to $250. Going for the right ones, anyways, because you can always go get the cheaper ones, but you want to get the right stuff.
Yep, that's kind of a ever-expanding trend of firearms. Is you always want to make sure you got the right stuff, because you cry once, something, rich people, poverty, pony stuff.
Which is why I think I ended up spending about $1,500 on my rifle build, when I would have preferred spending a lot less, but I built it over time, so I didn't spend all that $15 at one time.
Yeah, that's kind of the nice thing about buying the mid-tier, quote, mid-tier quality guns. You can build it up to a nice high-quality gun over time instead of having to drop that lots of money right there at one time.
Yeah, $1,500 is a lot of money to be dropping all at once. I mean, hell, even $1,000 is a lot to be dropping all at once on a rifle. But spending, I don't know, $100 here for a barrel, I'm sorry, not a barrel, but for a upper receiver here, lower receiver here, barrel, your scope, it adds up, but it's easier to swallow in those small increments.
Yeah. I would say if you're going to spend a lot of money on something, I would say definitely spend it on the parts that matter versus, buying a bunch of premium parts on a gun that most of which you don't actually have to have the quote premium of.
I would say the barrel, the lower, and the BCG would be the parts you want to have the best parts for, personally.
It's just a preference. We're talking about AR-15s basically, because that's really one of the only guns right now that's feasible to build your own of.
No, AR-10 as well, but that's the higher caliber.
It's tomato.
Yeah.
Same basic platform, just one's got a slightly bigger magwell. But, where was I going with this? I don't necessarily think you need a high dollar lower, because from what I remember reading an article somewhere that said that there was a range in Vegas that like all of their guns are full auto, and they were talking about what guns they have to replace the parts on the most. And from what I understand, they said that they've never once had any of their lowers for their AR-15 M4 and 16 platforms actually wear out. Because, all I see was holding all the moving pieces.
Good to know.
Because, I've got my air build right now. I'm using a Palmetto State Armory lower, but I've got TMG internals everywhere else. And then I think it's pronounced the Luthor, something like that. AR-15 brand that I've never heard of. Buffer, tube, and spring, and weight, and all that.
Okay. So let's go ahead and move into the shotgun variety of pew-pews now. So, if you're looking for home defense, the lower the gauge, I'm going to say the better. You don't need a 12 gauge for home defense, people. A 20 gauge or a 410 will be just fine. It'll have less kick, so anybody of the adult age will be able to fire it and not blow their shoulder out. You don't need the range of a 12 gauge when you're shooting inside. Actually, the less range available is better because you have to consider what's on the other side of your walls as well.
Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, if you got a significant other, and maybe they're not into guns or they're, the smaller, petite stature, 12 gauge will knock them on their butt versus something like a 20 gauge where they can hold it with one hand and use it while, maybe you've got a kid or something where they got to hold them behind them. They're busy corralling the kid while they're trying to also get people away from them. 12 gauge isn't ideal for that situation.
Yo, fun story. Back in the childhood days, I was part of the Boy Scouts. We went up to our Boy Scout reservation up near Nashville, and this is the first time me or my brother had ever really shot weapons at all. So if you know the stance to hold a shotgun and the stance to not hold a shotgun in. Basically, you want to have one foot in front of the other, not standing side by side foot. One foot to the front, one foot to the back. Turn your torso and aim that way. My brother decided he was gonna shoot like you would a handgun, with one foot next to the other, spaced out. And he was trying to fire a 12 gauge. So our assistant scoutmaster saw this and just went up and put a hand behind my brother's back, because he knew the result was my brother was going to go flying backwards.
I mean, I was taught the way that your brother was doing it, but if you're not leading into that shot, you're going to get kicked back, which is why I always recommend people take not necessarily a firearms course, but a tactical firearms course, because they'll teach you how to do defensive shooting, the best ways to stand and everything, because the standing sideways to your target, I've also been taught that for rifle shooting, but I was always taught for defensive shooting, you want to square up on your target, gives you the best stability, basically. But that's more of a different thought. It get the same result. You shoot the target, you don't knock yourself over, and the target goes down. But it just kind of depends on you as an individual and the situation you find yourself in.
And familiarity with the weapon will help in all those cases.
That too. Very much so. Be familiar with what you're firing as well. Go out, practice repeatedly. Don't just go out once. And I'm not saying go out every day or every weekend, because that can get expensive. Once a month, every couple of weeks, until you're intimately familiar with what you're firing, would be preferable. Then maybe you can knock it down to once a month. But just stay familiar with it. Know how to load it. Know how to speed load it.
Unload it, load it, and shoot a paper paper plate at about 50 yards.
Which, for those who don't use the... Go ahead.
I know a girl locally who had purchased her a Hurst pistol, but had never, ever fired it. Well, the one time that she came into a situation that she needed it, she was not prepared for it, and she didn't shoot anybody. She did fire several rounds off, and the last one was from a backwards prone position, and pretty much straight up in the air. So having the firearm to protect yourself means nothing if you don't know how to use it.
Makes it a really dangerous desk weight, basically.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, most everyone can find cheap-ish or affordable training classes. Like there's 2 or 3 ranges around me that offer both introductory classes and more advanced ones. The most expensive class I've seen was like a 2-day squad rifleman's course where you work alongside like other guys decked out in all the LARPing, tactical, awesome gear for like $500 per person. Which sounds like a lot, but in retrospect, $500 to learn how to shoot with somebody next to you is a lot easier to swallow than, say, you fuck up in the middle of an actual like self-defense scenario and shoot the person you really didn't want to shoot.
Or you could just enlist and you'll learn that shit for free.
I don't know. I was gonna say it's not free. The toll it takes on your body.
Oh yeah, all right. I'll agree with that. Monetarily, you won't be spending anything. Physically, you'll be getting fucked up.
Mentally,
that too.
Emotionally, it's a good way to acquire scars of all types.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're moving into the handgun section now, just naturally, or maybe we've already been in there. Maybe I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, it really just kind of bleeds into everything because knowing how to load a shotgun, also not going to mean you know how to load a handgun. But there are some fundamentals that kind of go with it. You know, you get your shot and everything. They're very universal, but there are some nuances specifically to handgun versus shotguns.
So I think when we were talking about this earlier, before I had to start the recording over, we were talking about knowing whether you're more comfortable with a platform like the Glock where it doesn't have the manual safety versus something like the Ruger platforms that do have a manual safety. Me personally, I can fire either one. I just feel more comfortable and safer with that option of manual safety.
That's honestly, as somebody who works behind a gun counter, that's a really big thing that people ask about is, does this going to have manual safety on it, or I'm looking for something with a manual safety on it? Because they're concerned, you know, about what happens if we shooting the gun before they mean to, which is a real fear that people have had. I mean, anytime you've ever been around fire for a significant amount of time, you will have a negligent discharge, and you can only hope that it's not going to hurt anyone more than just say, oh crap, I need to go change my shorts moment.
Yeah. I don't know, mine's just the enlistment side. It's like weapons in your hand, safety on or safety off. And if it's not in your hands, that safety better be on. What's that?
Keeping your finger off the trigger.
Yeah, keep your booger hook off the trigger unless you are 100% ready to fire. If there's even a doubt that you're not ready to fire, please do not have your finger on that trigger.
No. I think everyone's ever been in firearms, especially when they were younger, they've experienced that. Oh, we were just messing around, all of a sudden the gun goes bang. Well, now you need to go change.
Yeah, and now little Timmy might be on the floor and not in the right way.
Yeah.
Going hunting, carrying the rifle through the woods, you stub your toe on just a stick or something and squeeze that trigger just enough, and it goes off.
Then you get the Dick Cheney special.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful, people.
I'm pretty sure that's actually what the military teaches is when they're on patrol, the guys aren't supposed to have a round in the rifle, safety on or off, and they're just supposed to rack around it whenever they need to actually engage something, but that also has to apply to the platform. That's one of the nuances of the modern rifle platform being a free-floating firing thing, but that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah. More than the discussion we're having for today, anyways.
Yeah. I will say though, if you carry it in a civilian context, if you carry a handgun, love God, do not be that person. Put one in the chamber because you will not be able to put your seatbelt on before you crash your car. You will not be able to rack that gun before you need to shoot somebody.
Mine's got that nice little feature of the raised piece for the barrel when I have one chambered.
Oh, the loaded chamber indicator?
Yeah.
Honestly, I like them the way that a lot of companies have been doing it now, where they have they actually have that mechanical bar that sticks up versus Smith & Wesson used to have one where it's just the tiniest little hole on the very back top of the chamber, basically where the rim would be for your cartridge. You would just look down there and you see a little piece of brass are loaded, but that doesn't work too well in like your dark environment.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit more into the range changes of these weapons, like where you want to. So if you're firing a pistol, you don't want to be shooting more than 25 yards or say 75 feet. For those who don't know the yardage, we might want to convert it into feet. So a shotgun. Now this is just a general shooting distance. It's not going to be, it's like, okay, you're using a Ruger, don't shoot farther than this. Just if they're further out than this, consider using this weapon platform. Or if they're farther than this, you might want to consider using a rifle instead of a shotgun versus a pistol.
Yeah. And I'll say that while we say a handgun really only affects us 25 yards, I'll have to point out that was that Indiana shooting where the guy had to shoot the dude at like 40 yards 10 times and hit him into those 10 times or something?
I don't remember.
But he shot at a significantly further distance. It's what would be considered an extreme distance for pistols. But
yeah, 40 yards, that's going to be close to over 100 feet away.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of math that I don't do.
It is, and if you know your skill level, then you might be able to push these boundaries a little bit farther than someone who's, say, just carrying for self-protection, and they'd really, I'm not going to say don't look forward to it, because nobody looks forward to having to do this. I hope. Those who do look forward to it, I'm going to say please go get some help. Because at that point it's...
Being familiar with the weapon means so much when gauging the range on it as well. Because I've got an old revolver from my grandfather's, and I jokingly say it's accurate up to and including 5 yards.
I mean, me with my rifle, I can shoot easily 1,400 feet because I know my skill and I know my rifle.
I will say if we've learned how to do, like we mentioned before, obviously good training. For rifles themselves, I would recommend Project Appleseed Rifleman's clinics. I want to say last time I checked prices, they're right around $60 for a two-day excursion, and they'll get you trained up. It's a static range of like to engage a target out to 400 yards and be effective at hitting that target as long as you go there with a teachable attitude.
Yep. I'm just going to say, me personally, I was surprised this happened during basic, but I hit all 3 of my 300-yard targets using iron sights.
Yeah, I mean, the big point is just getting rounds on target. If you want to get more like, I got a 300-yard headshot consistently, you're going to want to get into like the really well, or really nice scoped high caliber rifles to get in there to worry about actual shot placement. It matters more that you hit the target than it matters where you hit the target.
And if you're having to engage something at 300 yards out, please be certain that's what you want to be doing. That's a considerable distance away.
It really depends how you're targeted that far away.
This is true. And I would say in most like modern today context, it probably is never going to happen. Granted, you should know how to do it regardless. But it probably is something we have to worry about today, but who knows what tomorrow will bring.
Right.
Sorry, I'm trying to plug my headphones in this side.
All good. So the most we should have to worry about in our day-to-day lives would be, I'd say, anything getting closer than 100 feet. I'd say 100 to 200 feet would be the average.
I don't remember where I read it at, but worldwide it was saying something about most engagements between combatant forces happen between 20 and 100 yards. Or meters, sorry. Between 20 and 100 meters.
Yard meter, it's the same measurement.
They're very, very, very close.
Let's be America. We do it by.
Yeah, anywhere from 60 to 300 feet, basically.
And they were saying that was the average worldwide distance between two combatant forces in the world. I mean, they didn't, that was just average, so some were obviously longer, and some were obviously closer. But with the urban environment that it's everywhere nowadays. There's not a lot of open field engagements.
Not anymore. Not since War of 1812.
Well, the French lines were technically open field.
True. All right. World War II then.
I would probably say since World War II, it's actually been more of a. There's been a bigger focus on urban combat where your targets are between that 300 meter to 20 yard, whatever, freedom fractions versus imperial non-movement country stuff.
Oh, I'd probably throw Vietnam into that too. I'd consider that open field warfare too.
Well, that was jungle and swamp. It's in name none of it open, but it's not urban either.
No, well that's what I was saying. It's not trench warfare, but it's more guerrilla open warfare than urban or trench warfare. It's kind of that middle ground.
Well, a very wise man once said that we are only ever prepared for the last war we fought, so.
Yeah, we lost it. I'd say we lost that one pretty bad.
Yeah, there's a whole political aspect to the Vietnam War and everything. That's a really bad topic to get into.
Yeah, which we're not going to do here because that's not what this group is about.
Right.
I was just bringing into context for what we're talking about.
For another time involving the Vietnam War, but not directly related to it. Well, kind of directly related to it, but it's not about the politics, it's about the psychological effects of warfare. So at some other time, we can discuss that. I've got a good theory about it.
All right, we'll make that a topic for one of the next couple podcasts then.
Yeah.
So, I mean, warfare style, that is part of the Mandalorian way.
Yep.
It has mostly to do with the ways that our troops came back from the war versus how they had been coming back from foreign wars. and adjusting to not being shot at, to deal with PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
Or PTSD before they entered the civilian population.
Or before we even knew what that was. But let's go ahead and get back on.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Let's go ahead and get back on topic. We'll save this conversation for another time, for another podcast. So, let's see, what was the other topics? Let me get into my messages here. So we've talked about what guns everyone should know how to load. We've also talked about the effective ranges and how far you should know how to shoot and how to be comfortable shooting at it. Let's go ahead and get into the ammo side of it, picking ammo for your rifles and pistols and shotguns. So me personally, I've got the wide variety of the weapons, but I've basically only got one brand of ammo that I've shot out of my weapons. So this is the one I'm familiar with, and that's Perfecta brand ammo. It is still sold. I think it's not sold at the original place I bought the ammo at. Sorry, got a little bit of the hiccup and burps coming up right here. Sorry about that. So I bought all my ammo probably 7 or 8 years ago at Walmart, back when they had this brand Perfecta, and I guess they decided they didn't want to carry it anymore, so they put it all on rollback, and I was buying 50 rounds for $1.
I always wondered what happened to that Perfecta brand. It was pretty good ammo for being really cheap. It was comparable to the old school steel case prices.
Yeah, so it is still buyable. You can still find it online, but I don't think I've ever seen it in stores as much anymore.
I haven't seen it in stores since 2015. I want to say.
It was around 2015 or 16 that I bought all my ammo. So I bought at least 1,200 rounds of 9mm, about, I would say close to 1,000 rounds of 308, which is why I built a 308 instead of a 5.56, because I had all this ammo. I have all this ammo for it. I probably bought about 400 or 500 rounds for 40 and 45 each. Shotgun. I didn't buy too much shotgun ammo because I didn't have one at the time. But I'd say within a couple years after that, I bought the breech load Hatfield for about $100 from Walmart, which I think that's about the same price as it is today.
Perfecta is manufactured and developed by Fiocchi.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine, bud. So I think I bought 2 bricks of 12 gauge. And let's see, I think it was 25 round boxes, 8 boxes. So about 200 round, 400 round? No, 200 round bricks. I bought, about 400 rounds of 12 gauge ammo. And I don't have much of that left. I've got 2 bandoliers left, which I think is about 50 rounds. But I've got a 12-gallon tote full of 12 gauge shells that I just need to reprime and reload. But I need the powder.
Well, I hope you got the primers for them, because those have been the real hot commodity right now.
Actually, I think I've got 400 primers.
Got your lucky stars.
Yeah, anytime I go into the sporting goods store in the on the Mississippi side, I was like, hey, y'all got any powder? You got any primers? First thing I do, I'll go up to that front counter, because that's where they keep it now.
Yeah. But I would definitely say for those that are either getting into their firearms or buying their ammo right now, I would do a lot of looking around, because I'm always big on supporting your brick and mortar stores with what the way ammunition prices are, and a lot of that's due to availability, the big one being, shipping.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay out
You're paying out the ass for it.
Oh yeah. So as much as I like supporting brick and mortar stores, you might find better deals online, but you'll be paying for most companies, you'll be paying a good chunk of shipping, unless you buy like $150 worth of ammo.
And that, everybody, is why I'm going into reloading. I think I can get, what was it, about 225 or 5. Ah, shit, let me look at my pictures. Go ahead, Kansas, while I'm looking this shit up.
But if you need to stock up an ammo, I always recommend, for handguns, it's really simple. You can make it complicated, but find a grain weight you like. For 9mm, it's 115, 124, 147, and you'll find defensive ammo and target ammo on all of those. And buy that one grain weight, stick with it, buy your target ammo and defensive ammo in the same grain weight, preferably the same manufacturer, but with handguns, as long as you're on the same grain weight, you should be fine for target accuracy purposes. Shotguns is a whole new can of worms for ammunition selection. Especially with 12 gauge, we have literally inconceivable amounts of different styles, but the standard defense round, double butt, 12 gauge slug, and I mean, I'm not necessarily an anti-proponent of birdshot, but it's definitely not the best tool for the job.
Nope.
And rifles, I mean, it's kind of like, it's not as bad as shotgun, but you get into a lot of different types, and that's where accuracy really starts to take effect. You have to really get down on a certain load in order to truthfully have good accuracy, but for the most part, AR-15s, the 55 grain full metal jacket, in either 5.56 or 223 Remington, they're going to hit within a human-sized torso of each other, so you want to get into long-range shooting, you have to start talking about the length of the projectile, and then the type of bullet that it is, and a crap ton of fun math. Like if gyroscopic stability factor makes your head ring, that's the easiest formula thus far to master with long range shooting.
Yeah, so I found my pictures. Most of it is around the same price point. So 9mm, anywhere from 115 grain up to 124 grain for 250 actual rounds, not the shell, not the powder, not the primer, but the bullet itself, the Freedom Seed itself, is anywhere from $31 to $36 rounded up for 250 rounds. You're going to be spending that much for a manufactured Freedom Seed for 50 rounds.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's you're going to be spending about $400 or $500 to get set up on a reload press kit, but actually manufacturing your own ammo, reloading your own ammo, you're going to be saving so much more money. It will pay for itself.
Yeah. And if you get lucky like me, you can buy I think what at one point was a $600 press that I bought from a gal off Facebook Marketplace for $150.
Nice.
Yeah, it was kind of a sad story. I guess her father-in-law or her dad or some relative of hers was going to make his own ammo, had all licensing and everything, but he passed away before they actually started doing it.
Oh.
And they were just trying to clear it all out because I guess they already had their stuff, and this was just stuff that they didn't want. And
yeah.
It's a Hornady progressive press of some model flavor. And yeah, I got a pretty good deal on it, but I wouldn't necessarily say everything you should buy used. The press you can get away with, but I would never buy used powder.
No. Go buy fresh powder.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how long this shit's been sitting out for.
Yeah, and then you have no idea, not only was it sitting out long, how long it has been kept properly. They might say that it's sealed, but how do you know they didn't reseal it? And if it's open, oh god, don't even look at powder that's already open. That can result in really bad stuff.
Yeah, because you don't know if any of this shit's been stored in a garage or a climate-controlled closet, or God forbid it's been in a non-climate-controlled storage unit.
Yeah, and if it's open, if you are loading like a rifle round with, say, what it's labeled supposed to be as rifle powder, but you got like pistol powder in there, you might as well say goodbye to your face and half of your head, because that stuff will mess you up. Which sounds weird, but pistol powder is designed to burn a lot faster, thus creating a lot more pressure. So if you've got a rifle charge in your rifle of pistol powder, you'll blow your gun up and possibly kill yourself.
Please don't do that. We don't want to know about that.
Yeah.
Be safe. If there's nothing you take away from this topic today, be safe with what you are doing. If you are not comfortable doing this, just don't do it. Walk away from it. Be safe with whatever you are doing. You cannot stress that enough with firearms.
Sorry, I missed that like last 10 seconds. What were we talking about again?
I was just talking about being safe. Cannot stress that enough.
Yeah, especially when it comes to reloading. And I mean, technically even factory ammo can have problems.
It's going to be less likely because they have a quality control team on hand.
If you have quality ammo. Even then, I've had some nice high-end brands have some really screwy pistol loads. Like, I wouldn't necessarily call it a premium brand. Even back when I bought it, it wasn't even a premium brand, but I have some PPU 38 special factory ammo. It's just some Target 158 grain lead round nose stuff. I had rounds that were over pressured, I had rounds that were under pressure. One round was so unpowerful that it flew out of the barrel about 15 yards, hitting rotting particle board, like countertop that we had ripped out when we were using it. It went from like 15 yards away, hit that particle board, and stuck in the surface.
Wow, that's definitely under pressure.
I had rounds that were probably borderline safety shoot out of my gun, and then I had a bunch of spit blows and shit. When you're shooting factory ammo, if something doesn't feel right or doesn't sound right, stop it right there.
Also, if you have I'm going to call it a dud round, but let's say you fire, nothing happens. Keep that weapon downrange, pointed downrange at your target for a little bit of time, because there could be something wrong with the ammo and it will fire.
Yeah, hang fire is very bad. Like, I used to work at public range, and it wasn't a very common occurrence. But you could tell when it was when it happened. Somebody would be doing something, not thinking about it, and all of a sudden, and everyone would start running out of the range. That's never a good sign.
Nope. What I tend to do with mine, and this is the way I was trained to do it, is you will eject the round and keep that round pointed down range the rest of the time you're at the range.
Yeah, I always tell people the rule of thumb is minimum 30 seconds.
Because I would look at it as like, okay, it's been, while I was looking at the rear of the shell, not the front of it, because I'm not that stupid, and I would see that it's been punched. So I was like, okay, this round is now going over in this corner right here. Not gonna fucking touch it.
Yeah, the range I actually worked at, we had a little box that was real beefed up with like half-inch steel plates, and it was we called it the dud box. You drop your duds in there, and they go bang in a safe environment. If they don't,
Yeah.
they don't go off, and it's whatever.
I can't say
I've
I've.
ever seen half something like that. 'Cause usually see people throw in the trash can, and it's like, oh god, no.
My local range has it's about as big around as a aluminum fence post. And I want to say it's a good 10 feet deep, just a little, a hole that my ranger from the Forest Service, one of the rangers said that's for those hang fires. It's a good safe place to drop in and forget about it.
I like that idea. I can't say the ranges I have near me. I can't say I've seen anything for hang fires. I might have to ask about that next time I go.
It's not common for a range to have them.
And that's unfortunate because that's a major safety issue. You gotta have somewhere to put these rounds that have been quote unquote fired, but nothing happened. Whether it's a powder issue, a primer issue, that you gotta have somewhere to put it because something could happen. After 30 seconds, the likelihood of it drops significantly.
But it's like nuclear radiation. The chance never goes away to zero.
Yeah.
There's always at least a minuscule chance that it will still go.
And I hadn't even thought about that. So we've talked about all our topics today. Let's go into some safety for everything. Besides keeping your booger hook off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Treat all weapons like they're loaded, even if you know they are not. You never know if somebody came behind you and said, hey, let's fuck around with this and let's practice loading, and they forget to take a round out. Well, anytime you pick your weapon, I'll do this even when I'm taking mine out of my car, because when I get to work, as I'm driving up to the entry gate, I'll take my pistol out of my holster, thank it for getting me to work safely, put it in my glove box, proceed to take my holster off, put it in the back seat behind me, and when I go to put everything back on, I will still check the chamber. I'll pull it back just enough to see inside, make sure that, yeah, okay, I didn't rack it by accident, and I'll make sure it's not loaded. Or if I want to, I'll pull it back, load it, and be on my way. Which,
one of my small pet peeves when I see people come up to the range is when they're bringing their rifles up and they're carrying the rifles pointed straight up in the air.
I think this is just the way we were trained in the military. You point the weapon down, not up.
At the ground. Always. I mean, it was drilled into my head from a young age with my dad.
Yeah, well, your dad, you're a military brat, so you got that training earlier.
Oh yeah.
I think that's because a lot of guys go through like hunter safety, and in hunter safety we're taught to point them up so you don't blow your foot off. But I feel with the military, I've heard it was for the Army, you pointed them down so you didn't shoot the rotor blades on the helicopter, and in the Navy you pointed them up so you don't put a hole through the bottom of the boat.
Makes sense. I could see that in the logic of
Navy, because it's situational. And in the Army, we were always taught, aim it at the ground because the ground will stop it eventually. But if you aim it up in the air, it's still going to find the ground somewhere.
Yeah.
Gravity. Gotta love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times they hear about people during New Year's or big holidays where they're shooting guns in the air and somebody got killed or hurt.
Oh, that I will 100% agree with that. New Year's and 4th of July, my apartment complex sounds like it's a war zone. People firing their Glocks off, their 9mm, whatever they have, and this last year, actually, people were actually coming out and firing while children were out, apparently. So they were getting yelled at to come over to what is closest to my corner of the complex is a soccer, like a fenced-in soccer arena. So they'll go in there and just shoot into the air over there.
I mean, shooting into the air anywhere is not a good idea. There are some 12 gauge rounds and shotgun rounds in general, but there are some shotgun rounds you're supposed to shoot in the air because obviously shotguns are shooting birds or birds in the air. But for the vast majority of firearms, not a good idea. It's really not.
No.
You're more likely to hit your target with a shotgun in the air than you are a rifle round.
Yeah. But shotguns also don't go, half a mile and come down on some poor kid's head. Shotguns will go like, 30, 40 yards, and then you have all those little tiny lead belt or BBs falling down at basically the speed of a fart.
Terminal velocity.
Yeah, about 9 feet per second is the terminal velocity. But because they're a lot lighter, they're not going to actually significantly hurt somebody. They might injure somebody a little bit, but not enough to actually kill them. Still, not a good practice.
Nope. Is it fun to do? Yes. Is it safe? Hell no.
But, what was the topic we were in the beginning of this with, before we got to this point?
Safety.
Ah. One of the best ways I would say to get safety is, like we've mentioned multiple times already, is get training. Go to your classes. They may seem like a lot of money for a couple hours of instruction, but they pay off in the long run.
There are, I mean, even if you just go to a friend's house who has gone through one or is very proficient with their firearms, you can do that too. I'm not saying don't take the professional-led courses. They are expensive. There are some who do it for maybe $20, $30 a head, but for the most part, you're going to be paying upwards of $100 to $200 per person.
Yeah.
But that $100 or $200 could just save a life.
Well, that too. I'm not saying don't take the courses, but at the same time, if you know someone who knows their stuff, they may not be a licensed trainer, but it's just like, hey, Bob, let's go to the range. I got a friend who wants to get some firearm training or some safety topics.
Absolutely. I take friends of mine all the time to the range with the express intent of teaching them a little bit of safety.
Yep.
I've got friends that say that I'm a real asshole at the range because I don't play around with safety.
No, and that's one topic you don't fuck around with at any gun range. Do not play with your firearm.
I don't think anyone can top me, though. When I worked at the prison, the first time I went through their basic, we were being taught how to shoot the rifles from the tower. And this guy who had never handled firearms in his life or whatever was holding his AR at hip level, just waving it around, the barrel pointed everywhere. Now, we didn't have ammo at that time, but
it doesn't matter.
My initial reaction, grabbed that barrel and yelled in his face, if you point that rifle at me again, I'm going to point mine at yours, and mine will be loaded.
Yeah, so, Ba, you probably had this happen in your military career. I know I had it happen to me during basic training, at least, where we had a female get done firing, and she just, the drill sergeant or somebody said, hey, so-and-so, hey, your name. And she just turns around and flags the entire firing line.
Sweeps the entire firing line.
Yes.
Yeah. I've seen
she
it. Males,
got
females.
tackled so fast. Because you do not play with safety.
Yeah.
I've seen a drill sergeant tackle a private for sweeping the fire line.
Yeah,
Granted, it was
that's
the
what
third time
happened
that
in
this
mine.
private had done it. It was the third time this private had done it during VRM.
I think this was the
course
first time, but
weeks.
I'd say they should be lucky they didn't get. That's all they got because.
That was their last day with us. They were recycled after that.
And just as a point out, this isn't a sexist rant about women with firearms. It's just it happens to just constantly be usually the untrained woman who's never.
That was a guy
in his life. Well,
that was a guy.
And no, I by no means was I bashing on the female who did this.
Yeah.
And anybody can shoot a weapon.
Oh yeah.
But get your practice. By no means are we trying to say hide behind your husband or boyfriend. I know some boyfriends who will be hiding behind their girlfriend or wife.
If it's not a firefight, shoot, my wife wants it, she can have it. I'm not stepping in her way. If it comes down to a firefight, she's going to step out of my way.
Because you know what you're doing more than she would, I assume.
In this case, yes. Now, my wife hunts. My wife loves to go target shooting. But when it comes down to it, I'm more experienced in a firefight. I'm more experienced when it comes to dealing with other humans and firearms.
Yeah,
and
because you've been through the military training. You've had military service, so you were trained for it.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to anything else, if she decides she's stepping up to it, any other conflict, I am not getting in her way.
Like, okay, babe, all yours.
I'm going to be the one stepping back and going, oh, you done did it now.
You fucked up.
You could have dealt with me. I'm reasonable when I'm upset. Now you got to deal with her. She is not.
My wife knows because I'm one of those guys. I do stand between my wife, my son, and the rest of the world. But my wife knows if I'm wearing my plate carrier, I've got little gold plates. You stay the hell behind me on the wall.
Yeah.
Versus if I'm not. You run. You grab the kid. You fucking run because I will meet up with you later. You just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, we have a standard get home policy.
No, Mason, stop that.
And it doesn't really work because my wife is a nurse.
You don't do that.
Yeah, she would be having to go to work.
She's got some of that same, head towards struggle mentality that I do.
Yeah, and
A different reason. But
Yeah.
We've made it a policy that if one of us is engaged in something and tells the other one to go home, that they go home. They take any kids that are with us at the time and they go home.
which is another topic for firearms training, is you should also have some medical training, not just how to put holes in people, but how to patch the holes.
Yes.
Even a basic stop the bleed class is a great example of this. I mean, stop the bleed classes you can get them as cheap as like $20, and they're specifically how to treat gunshot wounds and stuff. But another training aspect, since we're talking about spouses, is to there are courses out there where you train on how to defend your spouse. I haven't seen any that involve like you bring the kids out, because that's a really, really big time like safety issue. And but if you got a spouse and you really do truly care about them, take a training course where you guys are actually learning how to defend one another in a life or death situation.
In a hostile environment.
It's one thing to know how to do it by yourself, but when you have to coordinate movement with somebody else, well, there's a reason that choreography, dancing, and like the media and Hollywood and stuff like that is a really high paid career field.
Yeah, really good topics today. We've actually gotten to our hour mark, and we covered a lot of stuff, including safety and everything you need to know about what particular types of firearms, maybe not the specifics of each one, but get familiar with this type of rifle, this type of shotgun, this type kind of pistol, whether it's a magazine fed or revolver, or pump or breech load, or bolt action or magazine fed for rifles. We've talked a little bit about what ammos to use, or try to find what ammo is the balanced one, I guess would be a good word to use for each of those weapons platforms. And also what ranges to be comfortable in for each of those.
And even the little bit we touched on today doesn't even begin to scratch the surface on how deep you can get into all of that stuff.
No, not at all. And if anyone wants us to go into it further, feel free to reach out to us. If you're a part of the server, and if you have not gotten your interview, just hit us up in the general chat. If you're a VOD who has access to all of the channels, hit us up on any of the podcast channels or even in the cantina, we'll see it. If you are trying to find the Discord server and you're a part of the faith, there is a non-expiring link on the Facebook page that you can hit up, and we'll see anything that you post for the general chat again until you get your interview, and then post anywhere in the channels and we'll see it. Because everybody in this room, or at least myself and Ba, we will see it. Kansas can as well.
I don't check Discord very often, but I will, if you keep private message me or tag me, I will eventually see it. I just may not see it within, an hour or whatever, but
I probably see the notification and check it later kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm getting better at it. Trying to juggle between all of that, plus work and kid and everything. Life is very fun.
Yeah.
Always.
So I think at the current time, we've got, I'd say about 230 people in the Discord. And on the Facebook page, we've got easily 1.6 thousand people following that page. Now, whether they're all diehard into the faith or they're just like, hey, I want to check this out. If you are in the faith and want to get a hold of us, the Discord is going to be the easiest place to do it. We're always here. May not be in the voice chats, but we're always in the chat somewhere.
Now, back on that topic of safety, I want to stress this. If you are not comfortable with anything, if it makes you jittery, it makes you nervous, it makes you anxious, don't do it. Don't do it in that state.
100%. Get yourself in a better state of mind and try it again. But
a horror story from when I was 7 years old, when my dad was a drill sergeant. The neighbor 3 houses down was a drill sergeant with my dad. And the private in the grenade bay with him got jittery and dropped the grenade at his feet.
Ooh. Yikes.
I went with my dad to tell his wife why he wasn't coming home.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because his kids were my friends.
Yeah,
so if you were...
Go ahead.
Your biggest enemy is yourself. Initially. If you're anxious, if you're nervous, you're going to hurt somebody. Quite likely yourself.
Yeah, your biggest safety is between your ears.
My nose? Just kidding. Use your eyes, use your brain. Be safe.
Do not be afraid to ask questions. I know that a lot of people talk, oh, it's a stupid question. The only stupid question when it comes to firearms or self-defense is the one that is not asked.
100%.
Because I work behind a gun counter, I'm constantly, I think, it's like, this might be a stupid question. Nope, you're asking it, that's a smart question. I don't care how many times I've answered it. Yes, the bullets go this direction of the magazine. Yeah, it's a safety, that's a trigger. I'm more than willing to stand with somebody for 8 hours a day, 365 days a year to make someone comfortable with a gun.
Same. If there's nothing else y'all get from this podcast, be safe. And on that topic, I've got stuff I gotta do around the apartment, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut the recording now.